Imagine this scenario. You're sitting in your couch after a really long day, or maybe you're packed into a crowded train on your commute home, and suddenly your phone buzzes.
Oh, I know that buzz. It's the best one.
Right. You look down, and there it is, the push notification from your banking app. Your salary has officially hit your account.
A truly magical moment, honestly.
It really is. But in those first 5 magical minutes after the deposit clears, what exactly goes through your mind? And, more importantly, what do you actually do?
That is the million-dollar question right there.
Do you instantly open your budgeting software, become this perfect picture of fiscal responsibility, and transfer exactly 20% into a high-yield savings account?
I mean, we all like to think we do that, but...
Exactly. Or do you immediately open a shopping app, start browsing for luxury items, look up flights to a country you've literally never been to, and pretend, just for a moment, that you're a mysterious billionaire with endless resources?
For a massive portion of the population, it's the mysterious billionaire persona, 100%. The temptation to instantly translate that digital number into a real-world reward is just overwhelmingly strong.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, there's always the third, highly common option, pretending you're going to be incredibly responsible, making this strict mental plan to cook at home and save every penny.
Yeah, the new me mindset.
Right. And then somehow, a mere 2 hours later, you find yourself ordering extremely expensive sushi on a delivery app simply because you feel you've earned it.
That specific sequence of events is just universally relatable. If you're listening to this right now and feeling a little bit exposed or maybe a little bit guilty about your recent delivery orders, do not worry at all. You are exactly where you need to be. Welcome to English Learning Podcast for daily life, real conversations, and easy listening practice.
So glad to be here for this one.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into an enormous stack of research to figure out exactly why we behave this way. We're looking at recent behavioral economics papers, extensive consumer psychology surveys focusing on late-night scrolling habits, and even some really fascinating case studies from the emerging field of financial therapy.
Yeah, financial therapy is such a cool field right now.
It really is.
Yeah.
So we're going to figure out the complex mechanisms behind why we spend, why we save, and how to discuss these complex financial behaviors fluently in English.
And what's truly compelling about the material we're diving into today is that this isn't just dry theoretical economics. We aren't just looking at macro-level market trends or whatever.
Right, super personal.
Exactly. This research lives in our daily habits. It explains our sudden feelings of guilt, those subscriptions we completely forget to cancel, and those late-night decisions made when we're just exhausted and want a quick hit of dopamine.
The late-night dopamine hunt is real.
Oh, for sure. We're going to explore the underlying biology and psychology of your financial choices. And because this is an advanced English learning deep dive, we have a specific practical mission for you, the listener.
Yes, a very clear mission today.
By the end of our conversation today, you are going to master exactly 10 key B2 and C1 level English phrases and idioms related to money, psychology, and daily life.
You are going to walk away from this deep dive sounding incredibly articulate the next time you find yourself in a conversation about budgeting, inflation, or just shopping habits.
Which happens all the time, right?
Constantly. And because we appreciate you tackling this complex topic with us, there's a bonus lesson waiting at the very end of this conversation.
Oh, this is a good one. You definitely want to stick around for this.
Yep. If you stick with us, we're going to break down a specific psychological rule, a highly practical framework backed by the behavioral economics research we reviewed that can instantly short-circuit your late-night shopping habits.
It's basically a lifesaver for your wallet.
Literally. It's designed to save you from that terrible sinking feeling of morning after regret when you check your email and see a shipping confirmation for something you absolutely do not need.
We've all been there.
But to understand the solution, we have to start with the core problem, right? We had to examine the biological trigger for our most irrational financial decisions.
Right. We need to examine the specific psychological event of payday.
The moment the money arrives, it seems like the second that direct deposit clears, the human brain just completely fractures.
It totally does.
We see highly rational people who manage complex logistical operations at work, people who solve intricate engineering problems, suddenly making entirely irrational, impulsive choices. Why does our logical processing split like that the moment resources become available?
So the behavioral economics papers we reviewed highlight a crucial mechanism here. Money is rarely processed by the brain as just a mathematical unit of exchange.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, it isn't just a neutral number on a screen. Neurologically, money represents a cascade of complex concepts. It represents an immediate reward. It represents a release from the chronic stress of scarcity.
Oh, wow. So it's heavily emotional.
Extremely. It represents future security, status, and honestly, survival. All of these powerful, emotionally charged associations hit your brain's processing centers at the exact same time.
That sounds overwhelming for the brain.
It is. When faced with these conflicting biological desires, like the desire for long-term safety versus the desire for immediate pleasure, the brain enters a state of heavy internal negotiation. You essentially experience a split brain effect.
So who exactly is negotiating inside my head during this split brain scenario? I feel like there's a whole committee in there.
Yeah, the research often frames it as a battle between two distinct personas. On one side, governed largely by the prefrontal cortex, you have the accountant.
The accountant. Okay, I like that.
Right. The accountant is forward-looking. The accountant is worried about the winter, about retirement, about safety, security, and predictability.
The accountant loves spreadsheets and compound interest, basically.
Exactly. But on the other side, driven heavily by the amygdala and the brain's reward pathways, you have the party planner.
Oh no, I know the party planner very well.
Most of us do. The party planner lives entirely in the present moment. The party planner wants lights, music, a dopamine spike, and tangible pleasure right this very second.
The most dangerous part of this internal negotiation is that in the heat of the moment, both of those voices sound completely rational.
They really do. They're very convincing.
Right. The accountant is whispering, think about your future. You need to build a safety net. And then the party planner is shouting, look at how hard you worked this month. You dealt with terrible clients. You survived endless meetings. You deserve to experience joy right now.
The I deserve this trap, it gets us every time.
In my experience, the party planner is like a world-class defense attorney. Whenever I'm about to buy something I absolutely do not need, my brain instantly generates this brilliant, bulletproof legal argument to defend the action.
The party planner unequivocally has the better marketing department, I'll say that. And the timing of the pitch is always perfect, especially on payday.
Why is payday so specific to this?
Well, the consumer psychology surveys we looked at point to a fascinating phenomenon that occurs for about 10 minutes after a salary hits an account. People enter a temporary state of what psychologists call delusional payday thinking.
Delusional payday thinking. Wow, I am incredibly familiar with this state.
I think we all are, right?
Yeah. It's this bizarre, almost mystical belief that just because I wrote down a new budget on a fresh piece of paper, my actual DNA has changed.
Yes, the magical transformation.
I tell myself, starting this month, I am a completely evolved version of myself. I am incredibly disciplined. I will wake up at 5 a.m. I will never buy a coffee out again, and I will cook every single meal using organic vegetables.
You basically fall for the illusion that a change in your bank balance equals a change in your fundamental character.
Exactly. It's so delusional.
But then, fast forward to a Thursday night, you've been navigating a highly stressful work environment for 4 days straight. Your cognitive load has been maxed out.
And suddenly that disciplined, highly evolved version of me is nowhere to be found.
Nowhere. Instead, you're sitting on the couch, you've ordered takeout from a restaurant that is much too expensive, and you're staring at an online receipt for a very pricey, completely random decorative lamp.
It is always a lamp, or a throw pillow, or some strange piece of kitchen equipment when we're emotional.
It's true.
But wait. This raises a structural question about human cognition. Why does our intellect, our smart, rational, accountant brain, seem to completely power down when we're tired or emotional? If we are inherently logical creatures, why does the logic just vanish at 8 p.m.?
Because intellect is not immune to biology. The behavioral science outlines a concept known as cognitive fatigue or ego depletion.
Ego depletion. That sounds serious.
It is. Making decisions, resisting temptation, and regulating your behavior throughout the workday requires actual physical energy in the brain. It burns glucose in the prefrontal cortex.
So the tank literally empties.
Precisely. By the time Thursday evening rolls around, that energy tank is running on fumes. Your rational decision-making apparatus is physically exhausted, so the brain defaults to its more primitive, emotion-driven centers.
That makes so much sense.
And the key insight from the financial therapy case studies is that in those late-night moments, you are not actually buying a product, you are buying relief.
You are buying relief. Wow. That completely reframes the entire behavior.
It changes everything, right?
It really does. I'm not entering my credit card information because my living room desperately requires a new lamp. I'm buying the lamp because I experienced a profoundly frustrating day. And the physical act of clicking buy provides a momentary illusion of control.
Yep, a quick hit of dopamine that makes you feel a tiny bit better for like 10 minutes.
But then future you wakes up the next morning, checks the bank account balance, sees the shipping confirmation, and says, why on earth did we do that?
And that's where the guilt sets in. The research suggests that present you and future, you are essentially trapped in a highly toxic relationship.
It's a hilarious way to put it. A toxic relationship with myself.
Present you is constantly sabotaging the stability of future you just to secure a momentary, fleeting thrill.
This psychological dynamic perfectly introduces the very first vocabulary phrase we need to master today. If we are going to analyze these behaviors, we need the precise English terminology to describe them.
Absolutely.
Let's look at how to properly describe that random late-night lamp purchase.
The precise term for this is an impulse purchase. An impulse purchase. This is a highly common noun phrase in both casual conversation and consumer economics.
Right, so what's the exact definition we want listeners to remember?
It refers to the act of buying something suddenly and spontaneously, without any prior planning or budgeting. Usually, it's because you are reacting to a strong emotion or a sudden desire in that exact moment.
So the word impulse describes the sudden neurological urge.
Exactly. And the purchase is the physical transaction.
So the distinction is all about the planning. If I spend 3 days researching the best winter boots, reading reviews, checking my budget, and then going to the store to buy them, that is a planned purchase.
Correct. That's the accountant at work.
But if I'm standing in the checkout line at the grocery store waiting to pay for my apples, and I suddenly grab an expensive celebrity gossip magazine and 3 chocolate bars just because they are sitting right there at eye level, those are impulse purchases.
Spot on. Listeners, let's lock this phrase into your active vocabulary. Whether you're walking, driving, or washing dishes right now, practice the pronunciation out loud to build that muscle memory.
Yes, speaking out loud is key. I'll say the phrase, give you a moment, and you repeat it. Ready? Impulse purchase.
Impulse purchase.
Awesome. Let's try putting it into a natural conversational sentence. Try saying this. I deleted the shopping app from my phone to stop making so many impulse purchases.
Nice. Now, the fascinating thing about human psychology is what happens in the minutes immediately following an impulse purchase.
Oh, the cover-up.
Exactly. The brain recognizes that it did something irrational, so it scrambles to defend itself. This brings us to our second key phrase.
Which is?
Justify an expense. To justify an expense. This means to invent a smart-sounding, logical reason for a financial decision after the emotional transaction has already taken place.
You're trying to make an irrational act look completely rational to yourself or to others.
Right. You know this one well, don't you?
I have a PhD in justifying an expense. It is the art of assigning a fake logical rationale to an emotionally driven action.
Give us an example.
Okay, let's say I go out and buy a wildly expensive, completely unnecessary leather jacket. Yeah. The truth, the emotional reason, is that I'm feeling a bit insecure and I want to look stylish to boost my confidence.
Which is a classic party planner move.
Totally. But when a friend asks me why I dropped $500 on a Tuesday afternoon, I immediately justify the expense. I say, well, you have to view this jacket as an investment in professional networking. When I wear this to industry conferences, clients will perceive me as more successful, which will lead to better contracts. Therefore, the jacket practically pays for itself.
That is a masterclass in post-hoc rationalization. You've taken a purchase driven purely by the amygdala and dressed it up in the language of the prefrontal cortex.
I'm very good at it.
You are attempting to logically justify the expense of your insecurity. Let's get the listener comfortable with this phrase. Speak out loud with us. Justify an expense.
Justify an expense.
Let's try it in a professional context. Repeat this sentence. The marketing team tried to justify the expense of the lavish retreat by claiming it would boost annual productivity.
Perfect. The best way to truly internalize these B2 and C1 phrases is to see how native speakers weave them into everyday dialogue. So let's look at a practical scenario.
Okay, hit me.
If I walked into your house right now, and instead of a lamp, I saw an enormous, terrifying, life-size plastic statue of a gorilla sitting in the corner of your living room.
A giant plastic gorilla. Okay.
And I naturally asked you, why on earth is there a giant gorilla in your house? Did you actually pay money for that? You wouldn't just admit that you bought it because you were sad.
Absolutely not. My party planner brain would immediately call upon its defense attorney. I would probably say something like, look, I know it seems completely bizarre at first glance. It was, admittedly, an impulse purchase. I was walking past this very strange antique liquidation store yesterday after that massive argument with my department head, and I just saw him and I bought him.
And I would look at you like you were crazy and say, an impulse purchase. It's 6 feet tall and takes up half the room. How much did that even cost?
And this is where I would pivot to the defense. The actual price is irrelevant because honestly, I can completely justify the expense. You have to look at the utility.
The utility of a plastic gorilla.
Oh, yes. It is actually a highly advanced home security measure. Think about it. If a burglar breaks into my house at 2 a.m. and the first thing they see in the moonlight is the terrifying silhouette of a silverback gorilla, they are going to panic and run away immediately. So realistically, I'm saving thousands of dollars a year on a monitored alarm system.
And I would just shake my head and say, you are honestly trying to justify the expense of a giant plastic gorilla by calling it an alarm system. Your present self has absolutely destroyed your future self's budget.
I mean, it is a totally absurd hypothetical, but it perfectly illustrates the behavioral mechanics. The impulse purchase is the sudden emotional reaction to the bad day at work, resulting in the gorilla.
And justifying the expense is the ridiculous mental gymnastics required to reframe the gorilla as a logical security investment.
Exactly. We use an extreme example to make it memorable, but the reality is we do this constantly with mundane things.
Oh, for sure. We do it with technology upgrades, with luxury vehicles, with subscribing to 5 different streaming services. We purchase the emotional relief, and then we construct the logical scaffolding afterward.
Right. It's human nature.
So we've thoroughly analyzed the party planner mentality and the psychology of spending, but we need to flip the coin. What about the other side of the behavioral spectrum?
The savers.
Yes. The research also covers people who fiercely, almost obsessively hoard every penny they earn. Let's examine the psychological motivations behind aggressive saving.
To accurately understand the saver's mindset, we have to completely discard the common societal view of what saving represents.
How so?
Well, often people view aggressive saving as a form of self-punishment. They view it as the rigid accountant constantly saying no to everything enjoyable in life.
Yeah, that is just boring.
But the financial therapy case studies reveal something entirely different. For people who are highly motivated to save, hoarding money is not about embracing boredom. It is about securing a supply of oxygen.
Oxygen. Let's unpack that metaphor. Why does the research equate a high bank balance with oxygen?
Think about the biological reaction to stress. Imagine what happens when life delivers what behavioral economists sometimes refer to as a clustered negative variance.
A clustered negative variance. That sounds very academic.
It does. I prefer to call it the premium stress package.
Oh, the premium stress package. I've received a few of those deliveries.
Haven't we all? This is when the universe decides to test your resilience all at once. It's a random Tuesday. You open your mail to find an unexpected and massive tax bill.
Ouch.
That same afternoon, your car engine starts making a terrifying grinding sound that you know will cost thousands to fix.
It's getting worse.
And the very next morning, you develop an intense toothache that requires a highly expensive, uninsured dental procedure.
The premium stress package. It's the real-world manifestation of the phrase, when it rains, it pours. All the catastrophic logistical failures converge at the exact same time.
Now, analyze the neurological response to that scenario if you have absolutely zero money in your checking account.
Absolutely panic.
Exactly. Your brain instantly triggers the amygdala's fight or flight response. You're thrown into pure biological survival mode. The cortisol floods your system. You cannot sleep at night because your mind is racing.
And when you can't sleep, you can't focus on your job, which puts your income at further risk.
Right. You snap at your partner and your friends because you're vibrating with anxiety. You are quite literally suffocating under the psychological pressure of the emergencies.
Because every single problem is an existential threat. A broken car isn't just a broken car. It means you might lose your job because you can't commute.
Exactly. But if you have heavily saved, you have an oxygen tank. You can still breathe when the pressure drops.
So it changes the biological reaction.
Completely. The car breaking down does not trigger a neurological panic attack. It simply becomes a frustrating logistical inconvenience. You authorize the mechanic to fix it, you pay the tax bill, you get the dental work done, and you continue breathing. The money acts as a literal shield for your nervous system.
The capital protects the brain from operating in chronic panic mode. That is a profound way to look at it. It isn't about the money sitting idle, it's about the mental health benefits of the buffer.
Yes, the buffer is key.
This perfectly aligns with our third vocabulary phrase, which gives us the precise idiom to describe this oxygen tank.
The widely used professional term for this is a financial cushion. A financial cushion.
A cushion.
A cushion, in a physical sense, is a soft pillow. If you fall off a chair, a cushion absorbs the impact and prevents you from breaking a bone on the hard floor.
Right, it softens the blow.
In an economic context, a financial cushion is a layer of money that you intentionally keep set aside specifically to absorb the shock of unexpected life events. It gives you the necessary breathing room to handle emergencies without resorting to high-interest debt.
A financial cushion. It absorbs the brutal impact of the premium stress package. It is such a descriptive visual idiom. Let's get our listeners using this actively. Say it out loud to practice the rhythm of the phrase. Financial cushion.
Financial cushion.
Try incorporating it into this sentence. Before you even consider investing in volatile stocks, you must prioritize building a solid financial cushion.
Excellent work. Now, in order to actually build that cushion, an individual has to adopt a very specific daily behavioral pattern.
Which leads us directly to phrase number 4.
Right. Live within your means. To live within your means. This is a foundational C1 level idiom used constantly in personal finance, journalism, and daily life.
Let's define means.
Means refers to your available resources or income. Therefore, to live within your means indicates that your daily lifestyle, your housing, and your spending habits accurately and realistically match the money you are actually bringing in.
So you're not spending more than you earn.
Exactly. And you aren't relying on credit cards to artificially inflate your standard of living.
To live within your means is the most basic mathematical principle of economics, yet it is arguably the most difficult psychological challenge in the modern world. Why is that?
Well, what do you think the main culprit is?
From my reading of the consumer psychology surveys, the primary antagonist making it nearly impossible to live within our means today is social media and the algorithmic distortion of reality.
That is a critical observation supported heavily by the data. The psychological pressure exerted by social media is just unprecedented in human history.
It really is. Historically, you only compared your lifestyle to your immediate neighbors.
Right, the people on your street.
But now, you open your phone, and the algorithm serves you a video of a 23-year-old influencer showcasing their typical morning routine.
Oh, the morning routines.
Yes, and their typical routine involves waking up in a glass-walled luxury apartment, drinking $50 imported organic coffee, utilizing a skincare routine that costs more than an average monthly mortgage payment, and wearing designer athleisure wear just to walk their purebred dog.
And it is all presented seamlessly as normal, everyday life.
And the neurological impact of that is devastating. Normal people working incredibly hard at demanding jobs look at those videos and feel an intense, localized sense of failure.
They feel completely behind in life, despite doing absolutely nothing wrong.
Exactly. And what do we do when we feel inadequate or stressed? We seek relief, we abandon the idea of living within our means, and we go make an impulse purchase.
Yep, the party planner steps in.
We finance a car we can't afford, or buy that absurdly expensive skincare serum just to feel like we are keeping pace. We destroy our own means because we are desperately trying to live within an influencer's fabricated means.
It is a devastating cycle of simulated wealth creating real-world poverty. That is why understanding and executing this concept is so vital. Let's practice this crucial idiom. Listeners, repeat after me. Live within your means.
Live within your means.
Let's use it in a sentence addressing this exact modern pressure. It requires immense discipline to ignore social media, but true peace of mind only arrives when you decide to live within your means.
That is a powerful sentence. Okay, so saving provides the oxygen. Living within your means provides the psychological peace. I understand the mechanics, and the accountant is presenting a very logical case here.
It's a strong case.
But let's analyze the extremes. What if we follow this logic to its absolute limit? Does the research show a danger in saving too much?
Oh, absolutely it does.
Because if we ruthlessly restrict every single impulse and hoard every penny for the future, doesn't present-day life just degrade into an endless, miserable waiting room for a someday that might never actually arrive?
That is the ultimate counter-argument to aggressive saving, and the psychological data completely validates your concern. When the act of saving is taken to a pathological extreme, it ceases to function as oxygen and transforms into a psychological prison.
A prison, wow.
You spend your entire life frantically preparing for a rainy day, but you stubbornly refuse to step outside and enjoy the sunshine when the weather is beautiful.
That's a sad way to live.
It is. And the behavioral economists point out that this extreme restriction leads to a highly predictable, very dangerous behavioral snap. They refer to it as the pendulum effect.
The pendulum effect, like the heavy brass weight swinging at the bottom of an antique grandfather clock.
Exactly that image.
If you pull it all the way up to the extreme left side and let go, physics dictates it won't just stop nicely in the middle, it will swing violently all the way to the extreme right side.
Precisely. In the context of consumer behavior, when people decide to finally get serious about their finances, they frequently adopt extreme financial diets.
Oh, the crash diets.
Yes. They let the accountant take total dictatorial control. They declare, I am never eating at a restaurant again. I am never buying a coffee from a cafe. I am canceling every subscription. I will not buy a single piece of clothing for a year. They pull the behavioral pendulum all the way to maximum restriction.
I've absolutely been guilty of this. In financial therapy circles, they call it starving the fun. You go 3 weeks aggressively saying no to every single mild temptation.
And what does the psychology dictate will happen after 3 weeks of extreme deprivation?
Your willpower battery completely drains. You feel miserable.
Yeah.
You look at your life, realize you are working 50 hours a week, and you have absolutely no tangible joy to show for it except a marginally larger number on a banking app.
The resentment starts to build up.
It does. And then the pendulum violently swings back. The party planner kicks down the door. You say, I cannot sustain this misery. I work too hard. I deserve to feel good.
There's that phrase again.
Yep. And you go out and aggressively spend massive amounts of money in one single chaotic weekend, completely obliterating all the progress you made during your diet.
You binge. The neurological mechanisms at play here are functionally identical to the mechanisms of crash dieting with food. Extreme, unsustainable restriction inevitably triggers extreme, uncontrollable binging.
It's so cyclical.
Bouncing between these massive extremes, from the militant accountant to the reckless party planner, is not actually a financial problem. The research identifies it as a behavioral pattern problem. You lack the emotional regulation to find a sustainable middle ground.
So how do we break it?
To break this destructive cycle, you have to internalize a foundational psychological capability, which brings us to phrase number 5.
This is a major one. It's a concept discussed constantly in psychology, business leadership, and self-development. Let's break it down.
The term is delayed gratification. Delayed gratification. Gratification simply means pleasure, satisfaction, or the receipt of a reward.
And delayed.
Delayed means to pause, to wait, or to put an event off until a later time. Therefore, delayed gratification is the psychological ability to intentionally resist the temptation of an immediate, smaller reward in order to hold out for a significantly more valuable, larger reward in the future.
Delayed gratification. This is the ultimate antidote to the impulse purchase. It is the famous Stanford marshmallow experiment applied to adult finances.
Exactly like the marshmallow experiment.
Instead of buying that random $100 lamp today to feel a tiny fleeting blip of happiness for 10 minutes, you exercise delayed gratification. You leave the lamp on the shelf, you save that $100, and next year you combine it with other saved money to pay for a profound, perspective-shifting trip to another country that provides a lifetime of rich memories.
The math makes total sense.
It makes sense, but it is excruciatingly difficult to execute in the moment when your brain is screaming for the immediate dopamine of the lamp.
It's difficult because it requires you to actively train your neural pathways to trust future you. You have to believe that the future reward will actually materialize.
Right, which takes practice.
Let's have our listeners practice articulating this essential psychological concept. Speak out loud with us. Delayed gratification.
Delayed gratification.
Try practicing it with this sentence. Building long-term wealth in the stock market is essentially just a lifelong exercise in delayed gratification.
Fantastic. Now, we're halfway through our vocabulary masterclass, and we've been heavily unpacking the psychological architecture of our financial choices. Before we move into the practical frameworks for healthier spending, I want to take a brief moment to break the fourth wall and connect directly with you, the listener.
Yes, let's check in.
If you're finding value in this deep dive, if you're suddenly recognizing the internal battle between the party planner and the accountant in your own life, and if you're actively practicing speaking these phrases out loud to build your fluency, please take just 1 second right now to like this video, share it with a friend who might need to hear it, and subscribe to the channel.
It really makes a difference.
It does. Engaging with the content tells the algorithm to support the show, which allows us to keep producing these extensive deep dives. And practicing aloud is exactly how you transition from just understanding English to confidently speaking it. Keep up the excellent work.
Truly, keep it up. Now, let's transition from identifying the problem to establishing the solution. We have established that extreme restriction inevitably triggers binge spending. We understand the pendulum effect is highly destructive. So how does a normal person actually escape this cycle?
Right, because the ultimate answer to financial anxiety cannot simply be never spend your money.
No, that just leads to the prison we talked about.
Exactly. The realistic answer has to be learn to spend your money more effectively.
Exactly. The core realization is that not all spending is neurologically or emotionally equal. We have to train our brains to ruthlessly differentiate between spending that is merely noise and spending that creates authentic, lasting value in our lives.
Noise versus value. Okay, define noise.
The noise is the frictionless consumption. It's the stuff you buy and literally forget you own a week later, the random lamp, the 5th overpriced takeout meal of the week when you had perfectly good groceries rotting in the fridge. That is noise.
Got it. And value.
Value is a completely different category.
So what constitutes value? How do the behavioral economists define it?
They utilize a framework called values-based spending. This requires auditing your expenditures to ensure your money aligns with the things that are genuinely most important to you as an individual.
Could you give an example of that?
Sure. For example, allocating funds toward education. Purchasing an advanced course that significantly improves your professional earning potential. Or spending money on meaningful, immersive travel that broadens your cultural perspective. That is values-based spending. It actively improves the trajectory of your future or deeply enriches your present.
The concept of values-based spending sounds wonderful in theory, but let's challenge the practical application of it. You mentioned travel as a value.
Right.
How does an individual accurately predict if spending $3,000 on a vacation will actually be a core memory that enriches their life? Or if it'll just be a massive mistake that results in monthly suffering as they pay off the high-interest credit card bill for the next 2 years?
Yeah.
How do we evaluate the true value in the heat of the moment?
That is the most critical question in consumer psychology. How do we stop the impulsive party planner from cleverly disguising mere noise as profound value?
Because the party planner is sneaky.
Very sneaky. To combat this, behavioral therapists recommend a simple but highly effective cognitive framework known as the 5-second pause.
The 5-second pause. Walk us through the mechanics of that.
The execution is remarkably simple, yet it requires immense discipline. Right before you initiate a transaction, before you click submit order online, or before you physically hand your credit card to a cashier, you force yourself to physically and mentally pause for 5 full seconds.
5 seconds can feel like a long time in a checkout line.
It does, but you have to interrupt the autopilot sequence. During those 5 seconds, you must ask yourself one highly specific, clarifying question. What exactly does this choice support in my larger life?
What does this choice support in my life? Let's run a simulation on that. Let's go back to the random lamp. I'm holding the lamp in the home goods store. I force the 5-second pause. I ask the question, what does this lamp support in my life?
And what's the answer?
If I'm being brutally honest with myself, the answer is absolutely nothing. It does not support my aesthetic goals. It doesn't support my health. It merely supports my temporary need to buy emotional relief because my boss yelled at me at 3 p.m. It is pure noise.
Exactly. The forced pause breaks the emotional spell and allows the prefrontal cortex to re-engage. The accountant gets a chance to speak.
That's a great way to put it. Let's run the simulation on the travel example.
Okay. You're hovering your mouse over the purchase flights button. You initiate the pause. What does this trip support?
If the honest answer is, it supports my marriage because my partner and I have been working opposite shifts and haven't connected in 6 months. It supports my mental health because I am nearing professional burnout and desperately need to unplug.
See the difference? If you can clearly and rationally articulate the genuine value it supports, and you have the cash so you aren't going into destructive debt, then the research says it's a highly optimal use of your resources.
This analytical framework perfectly transitions us into our next 2 vocabulary phrases. These terms provide the professional language to discuss this exact category of spending, the flexible spending that occurs after the fundamental survival bills are paid. What is our 6th phrase?
The term is discretionary spending. Discretionary spending. This is a very formal, highly useful C1 level term, frequently utilized in macroeconomics, business budgeting, and personal finance.
Let's define the word discretionary.
The adjective discretionary means something is available to be used entirely at your own discretion, meaning whenever and however you decide.
Ah, okay.
Therefore, discretionary spending refers to the pool of money you allocate toward non-essential items and experiences only after all your fundamental living expenses, rent, groceries, utilities, health insurance, are fully satisfied.
It's the capital in your fund zone. It's the money earmarked for restaurants, hobbies, entertainment, and vacations.
Discretionary spending. It is the most elastic part of a budget. It's the first lever you pull in an emergency. If you suddenly lose your job, discretionary spending is what you immediately eliminate to protect your survival. You stop the restaurant visits, you cancel the streaming services, you cut the discretionary to protect the essential.
Listeners, this is an incredibly impressive phrase to use in a business English environment. Let's practice the pronunciation together. Speak out loud. Discretionary spending.
Discretionary spending.
Let's contextualize it in a sentence. Due to the rising cost of groceries and rent, consumers have significantly less money available for discretionary spending this year.
Great job. Now, occasionally within that category of discretionary spending, we decide we want to execute a very large, highly joyful transaction. That brings us to phrase number 7. Splurge on.
Splurge on something.
Yes. To splurge on something. This is a fantastic, highly descriptive phrasal verb. To splurge means to intentionally spend a significantly larger amount of money than you normally would, specifically on a luxury item or an extravagant experience that you deeply desire, usually as a form of celebration or a special treat.
To splurge on. It carries a slightly indulgent but incredibly fun connotation. You don't splurge on basic household necessities like paper towels.
Right. Definitely not paper towels.
You splurge on a 5-star oceanfront hotel for your 10th wedding anniversary. You splurge on VIP backstage passes to see your absolute favorite musician. The key differentiator here is intention. It's a conscious, premeditated choice to deploy a large amount of capital on something that generates massive, memorable joy.
That is the vital distinction. A splurge is the behavioral opposite of an impulse purchase. An impulse purchase is mindless, reactive, and often deeply regretted. A splurge is highly anticipated, budgeted for, and thoroughly enjoyed. Let's practice this phrasal verb. Splurge on.
Splurge on.
Let's try it in a celebratory sentence. After working 70-hour weeks for 6 months to finish the project, she decided to splurge on a luxury spa weekend.
Perfect. Okay, let's bring the conversation down from the lofty heights of European vacations and luxury spas.
Back to reality.
Yes, back to reality. The statistical reality revealed in the consumer data is that the vast majority of people do not destroy their financial cushions with one massive catastrophic splurge.
No, they don't.
They slowly erode their stability through the tiny, almost invisible everyday transactions that quietly drain their accounts. Let's apply our new psychological frameworks to evaluate the mundane daily choices.
This is where the theory meets reality. Let's analyze the microtransactions.
I'm going to throw a classic daily scenario at you. This is arguably the most fiercely debated personal finance topic on the internet, the coffee debate.
Oh, the famous coffee debate.
Is stopping at an artisanal cafe every single morning before work to purchase a $6 latte a disastrous waste of discretionary spending that is keeping people broke? Or is it a perfectly justifiable daily joy?
This is the debate that literally causes financial gurus to scream at each other on social media. But from a behavioral psychology perspective, the answer is nuanced. The single cup of coffee is never the actual problem.
Never.
Never. The mathematics of one $6 coffee will not prevent you from buying a house or retiring. The danger lies entirely in the pattern of behavior it represents.
The pattern. Elaborate on what you mean by analyzing the pattern.
Well, if the deliberate act of walking into that specific cafe, smelling the roasted beans, and drinking that specific latte is your one true designated daily joy, if it genuinely provides you with 15 minutes of necessary psychological peace before you face a chaotic, high-pressure workday, and you have accounted for it in your budget, then it is an absolutely optimal use of discretionary spending.
Oh, interesting. So it's values-based spending executed on a micro level.
Exactly. However, if grabbing the coffee is merely a mindless, unconscious habit, and while you're there, you reflexively buy an overpriced muffin you aren't even hungry for them.
Which happens constantly.
Right. And then at 1 p.m., you habitually order a $20 salad on a delivery app. And then at 4 p.m., you are absent-mindedly buying a new shirt on Instagram that indicates a highly destructive pattern of unconscious consumption.
I see.
In that scenario, the coffee is merely a symptom of a brain that is constantly, desperately seeking tiny dopamine hits throughout the day via commercial transactions.
That is a brilliant distinction. It is not about the roasted beans. It is entirely about the state of the brain purchasing the beans. Let's analyze another incredibly common scenario: the smartphone upgrade cycle.
Oh, this is a big one.
Technology companies release a slightly modified rectangle of glass every 12 months, and immediately millions of people feel an overwhelming psychological urge to abandon their perfectly functioning current device. How do we rationally evaluate the urge to upgrade our technology?
For this specific dilemma, behavioral experts suggest deploying a very precise analytical question. When the intense desire for the new phone hits, you must pause and ask yourself, is this a tool upgrade or is it a mood upgrade?
A tool upgrade versus a mood upgrade. That framing is incredibly illuminating. Let's dissect that. A tool upgrade would imply that the new device tangibly impacts your physical safety or your professional capability.
Yes. Give me an example of a tool upgrade.
For example, if you are a freelance videographer and the upgraded camera lenses on the new phone will legitimately allow you to shoot higher quality footage, secure better clients, and increase your income. Or, on a more basic level, if your current phone battery is so degraded that it dies every 2 hours, leaving you stranded without GPS or emergency contact capabilities. Those are legitimate tool upgrades.
Exactly. In those scenarios, the accountant can logically justify the expense because the purchase directly improves your efficiency, your earning potential, or your physical safety. But a mood upgrade is a completely different psychological phenomenon.
How's the mood upgrade work?
A mood upgrade occurs when your current device functions flawlessly, but you are feeling internally bored. You are feeling a bit stagnant in your career or your personal life. You are exposed to a highly sophisticated marketing campaign featuring beautiful, successful people using the new device, and your brain subconsciously concludes, if I hold that new piece of titanium and glass in my hand, I will instantly transform into a more modern, more successful, more optimized version of myself.
Yep.
You aren't buying a communication device. You are attempting to purchase a new identity.
You are attempting to purchase a new identity to cure your boredom. That is a heavy realization. So if your internal audit reveals that the desire is purely a mood upgrade, what is the protocol?
You apply a prolonged version of the 5-second pause. You practice conscious awareness. You say to yourself, I acknowledge that I'm feeling stagnant, and I acknowledge that I want this shiny object to fix it. And then you intentionally wait. Because it is merely a mood upgrade, the acute burning desire will almost always dissipate after a few days once the marketing dopamine fades.
This constant, rigorous evaluation of our choices, distinguishing between a tool and a mood, separating value from noise, requires us to actively utilize our next vocabulary phrase. Phrase number 8 is the foundational action of mature decision-making.
The idiom is weigh the pros and cons. To weigh the pros and cons.
Break that down for us.
The verb to weigh means to physically measure how heavy an object is, traditionally by placing it on a balancing scale. The pros are the positive arguments, the benefits or the advantages of a situation. The cons are the negative arguments, the drawbacks or the disadvantages.
So you're balancing them.
Therefore, to weigh the pros and cons means to deliberately slow down and carefully analyze both the positive and negative implications of a situation, metaphorically balancing them against each other before arriving at a final logical decision.
Weigh the pros and cons. It is the ultimate exercise for the accountant brain. You are constructing a mental, or sometimes physical, ledger. Pro. The new smartphone possesses an incredible camera system that takes beautiful photos in the dark. Con. The new smartphone costs $1,200, which mathematically dictates that I will have to cancel my planned summer road trip to afford it.
Perfect example.
Listeners, this is an indispensable phrase for academic and professional English. Practice the cadence with us. Weigh the pros and cons.
Weigh the pros and cons.
Let's try utilizing it in a professional context. Before I accepted the offer to relocate to the new city for work, I sat down with my family to seriously weigh the pros and cons.
Excellent execution. Now, when you're in the process of weighing those pros and cons, the most significant con, the heaviest weight on the negative side of the scale is usually defined by our 9th vocabulary phrase.
And this is a big one.
This is a fundamental macroeconomic concept that governs literally every single choice we make throughout our entire lives.
This is genuinely one of my favorite cognitive concepts. Once you understand this principle, it fundamentally alters how you perceive the world and your resources.
The term is opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. This foundational economic principle states that resources, whether that is money, time, or physical energy, are inherently finite.
Meaning there is a limit.
Right. Therefore, every single time you make a choice to allocate a resource toward one specific thing, you are simultaneously making a choice not to allocate that resource toward countless other things. The opportunity cost is defined as the inherent value of the next best alternative that you must forfeit or give up when you make a decision.
Opportunity cost. It is the invisible, silent price tag attached to every action.
Yeah.
To illustrate, if I have exactly $100 in my pocket and I decide to spend it buying 5 rounds of expensive cocktails at a loud bar on a Friday night, the literal financial cost is $100.
Yes, that's the literal cost. But the opportunity cost.
The opportunity cost is the highly rated online coding certification that I could have purchased with that exact same $100. I permanently forfeited the opportunity to acquire a lucrative new skill because I chose the fleeting experience of the cocktails. The most powerful question a consumer can ask isn't just, do I have enough money in my account to afford this? The truly powerful question is, what specific future opportunity am I saying NO to in order to say yes to this item right now?
Precisely. And as you noted, opportunity cost extends far beyond financial capital. It is a vital concept for time management.
Oh, time management is a great point.
If you choose to spend 3 hours mindlessly scrolling through short-form video content on your phone, the opportunity cost is the novel you didn't read, the deep conversation you didn't have with your spouse, or the 3 hours of restorative sleep your brain desperately needed. Internalizing the reality of opportunity cost forces you to acknowledge that your life is a series of trade-offs, and every single choice carries a tangible consequence.
Let's have the listeners practice this highly sophisticated term, opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost.
Let's apply it in a sentence regarding long-term planning. The opportunity cost of failing to invest your money during your 20s results in a massive loss of compound interest by the time you reach your 60s.
Brilliant. Now, let's observe how these advanced concepts naturally weave into everyday dialogue. We're going to explore a very common social scenario. In English-speaking cultures, making small talk about the weather is the standard way to initiate a conversation.
The classic icebreaker.
Right. We are going to look at how native speakers effortlessly transition from trivial weather complaints into a deeper discussion, utilizing our new vocabulary regarding daily spending and opportunity cost.
Let's run the hypothetical scenario. Imagine 2 colleagues who have just finished a long day at the office. They walk out the front doors, and suddenly the sky turns violently dark, the wind picks up, and it starts absolutely pouring rain.
Typical Tuesday weather.
They are forced to sprint down the block and take shelter inside an upscale cafe. If I am the colleague who is annoyed by the inconvenience, and you are the colleague who starts analyzing the situation, the conversation might sound like this. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. It was completely sunny and clear 20 minutes ago. I didn't even check the forecast, so I didn't bring an umbrella today.
I know. The weather patterns this entire week have been completely erratic. 1 minute it feels like early spring, and the next minute we are caught in a torrential downpour. Let's just grab that small table in the back corner until the worst of it passes.
Good idea. Man, look at the prices on this menu. $7 for a basic hot chocolate. That borders on extortion.
Oh.
But I suppose since we are physically trapped in here for the next half hour, I might as well order one to warm up, or you can get anything.
You know, I think I am actually going to pass on ordering anything. I was just standing here thinking about the opportunity cost.
The opportunity cost of a hot chocolate. It's $7. It's not a 30-year mortgage.
That is true. But I actually sat down with my budget last night to seriously weigh the pros and cons of my daily spending habits. I audited my accounts, and I realized I was tapping my card for a coffee or a pastry almost every single afternoon at work. $6 or $7 a day. In isolation, it doesn't seem like much, but when I ran the math, it was adding up to nearly $150 a month. And I realized that the opportunity cost of those mindless daily coffees is that weekend hiking trip to the mountains that I keep telling my friends I can't afford. I was quite literally drinking my vacation fund one latte at a time.
Wow. Okay, when you frame the math like that,
Yeah.
I am suddenly deeply reconsidering this hot chocolate. You are making my discretionary spending feel incredibly undiscretionary right now. I think I will just enjoy a free glass of tap water than wait out this terrible weather.
Scene. That hypothetical exchange perfectly demonstrates a natural conversational pivot. It begins with the universally relatable frustration of a sudden rainstorm, classic small talk, and smoothly transitions into a meaningful dialogue utilizing the key phrases.
The colleague weighed the pros and cons of their microhabits, calculated the aggregate cost, and recognized that the opportunity cost was a highly valued experience.
It showcases how you can elevate everyday interactions by incorporating advanced English vocabulary to discuss real-world issues.
It really does.
Yeah.
Now, before we conclude with our final vocabulary phrase and the bonus psychological rule, there is a profoundly important caveat that the research demands we address.
Yes, this is very important.
We have spent the last 50 minutes heavily analyzing artisanal coffee habits, international vacations, psychological mood upgrades, and the optimization of discretionary funds.
Yeah.
But we must ground this conversation in reality.
Yes, it is absolutely vital to acknowledge that for a very significant and growing portion of the global population, this entire philosophical debate regarding the optimization of discretionary spending is an incredible luxury that they simply do not possess.
Exactly. Not every consumer is agonizing over the choice between funding a trip to Paris and purchasing a designer handbag. For millions of working-class families, the daily financial conversation has absolutely nothing to do with lifestyle optimization or maximizing compound interest.
No, it is a conversation about raw, fundamental survival.
This adds a crucial empathetic layer to the behavioral economics data.
It does. When an individual is working two physically demanding minimum wage jobs simply to keep the electricity turned on and prevent eviction, the neurological weight of money operates on an entirely different spectrum.
Because they have no financial cushion at all.
Right. When you have zero financial cushion, every single unexpected variance, a flat tire on the commute, a child needing antibiotics, ceases to be an inconvenience and becomes an absolute terrifying emergency. In that state of chronic scarcity, the concept of treating yourself might not mean a spa weekend.
What does it mean then?
It might literally mean spending $4 on a small ice cream cone for your child after a brutally exhausting week, just to manufacture a tiny, fleeting moment of normal, dignified human joy.
That is a staggering perspective shift. And in that context, saving money might mean managing to put exactly $5 into a glass jar at the end of the month and feeling profound, justifiable sense of pride in that immense achievement.
Exactly.
We cannot arrogantly view everyone's financial behaviors through the exact same affluent lens. What appears to a wealthy financial advisor to be an irrational, mathematically incorrect impulse purchase might actually be the sole moment of psychological relief that a struggling single parent experiences all month.
Precisely. A tiny incremental saving is still valid progress. A small, seemingly irrational purchase that provides comfort is still a deeply human response to stress. The ultimate purpose of understanding the psychology should never be to weaponize it as a tool for judging other circumstances.
That's beautifully said.
It should solely be utilized as a tool for personal awareness. Awareness of your own unique reality, your own specific behavioral patterns, and your own distinct priorities.
That is a deeply necessary sociological grounding for this topic, and it provides the perfect segue to our 10th and final vocabulary phrase for this deep dive. It is the precise idiom used in English to describe the exact reality of the struggle we were just discussing.
Our final phrase is make ends meet. To make ends meet. This is an incredibly common, highly evocative idiom used frequently in political discourse, news reporting, and everyday discussions about the economy.
Can you give us a visual for this idiom?
Sure. To visualize the idiom, imagine you are holding a piece of string in your left hand that represents your total monthly income and a piece of string in your right hand that represents your total monthly survival bills. You are desperately pulling the two strings together, trying to force the ends to touch.
To literally make the ends meet.
Yes. To make ends meet means to have barely enough money to cover the absolute basic costs of living, shelter, food, basic transportation, with absolutely zero surplus capital left over for savings or discretionary spending. It inherently implies a state of ongoing financial struggle and stress. It signifies that mere survival is the primary exhausting goal.
To make ends meet It is a phrase that carries heavy emotional weight. You'll hear it constantly in discussions about inflation. With the cost of groceries skyrocketing, working families are finding it increasingly difficult to make ends meet.
It is an essential idiom for understanding socioeconomic conversations.
Listeners, let's practice our final phrase with an appreciation for its gravity. Speak out loud. Make ends meet.
Make ends meet.
Let's apply it in a sentence, reflecting personal experience. When I was a full-time university student working a minimum wage part-time job, it was a constant, exhausting struggle trying to make ends meet every single month.
Fantastic work. You have successfully navigated the nuances of 10 advanced B2 and C1 English phrases while simultaneously exploring some incredibly complex psychological and economic territory.
Which means we have arrived at the outro, and it's time to deliver on the promise I made in the very first minute of this deep dive. I promised you a bonus lesson derived directly from the behavioral research. A simple, highly actionable psychological rule that is proven to short-circuit your late-night shopping habits and protect you from the ravenous party planner brain.
I love this rule.
What is the framework?
The behavioral economists refer to it as the 7-day wait rule, and it is specifically engineered to combat the frictionless danger of the online shopping cart.
Okay, here's the exact protocol. When you are lying in bed, scrolling through your phone late at night, and you encounter an item, you feel a desperate, burning desire to purchase. Whether it is new clothing, a technological gadget, or another random decorative lamp, you do not attempt to employ extreme willpower.
Right, don't just say no.
You do not forbid yourself from shopping. You are fully permitted to select the size, pick the color, and place the item into your digital shopping cart. But you must establish an ironclad, unbreakable contract with yourself. You are not permitted to click the final checkout button for exactly 7 full days.
The 7-day wait rule. You abandon the items in the digital cart for a full week.
What is the specific neurological mechanism that makes this so effective?
It acts as a circuit breaker for the amygdala. It completely severs the connection between a sudden, fleeting emotional impulse and the actual financial transaction. The physical act of placing the item in the cart provides a tiny microdose of dopamine, satisfying the immediate urge to shop.
So you get the thrill without spending the money.
Exactly. But the mandatory 7-day waiting period gives the massive dopamine spike time to completely metabolize and leave your nervous system. It forces the frantic, emotional party planner to leave the room, allowing the rational, calculating accountant to sit down at the computer screen.
The accountant returns.
The consumer data shows that a vast majority of the time, when you return to that digital cart a week later, the emotional fog has lifted. You will look at the item with clear eyes and think, why in the world did I ever think I needed a neon sign for my kitchen?
It's so true.
You will delete the item, keep your money, and experience a profound sense of relief. You essentially hack your own biology to prevent the impulse purchase.
That is an absolutely brilliant application of behavioral science. You safely simulate the fun of the shopping experience, but you utilize forced delayed gratification to aggressively protect the budget of your future self. I'm immediately implementing the 7-day wait rule.
It's a game changer.
Now, before we officially wrap up, we need to ensure that the 10 key phrases we covered are permanently encoded into your active memory. Let's execute a rapid-fire vocabulary review. I will describe the psychological concept or definition, and you fire back the exact phrase. Listeners, test your recall. Try to shout the phrase out loud before the expert provides the answer.
I am ready. Let's run the diagnostic.
Buying something suddenly and spontaneously, without any prior planning, usually driven by sudden emotion.
Impulse purchase.
Inventing a logical, smart-sounding rationale for a financial decision after the emotional choice has already been made.
Justify an expense.
A dedicated layer of savings, explicitly designed to absorb the shock of unexpected emergencies.
Financial cushion.
Ensuring your daily lifestyle and spending habits realistically match your actual income. Resisting external social pressures.
Live within your means.
The psychological discipline to resist a small, immediate reward in order to receive a significantly larger reward in the future.
Delayed gratification.
The flexible pool of money allocated for non-essentials and entertainment only after all basic survival bills are fully paid.
Discretionary spending.
To intentionally spend a notably large amount of money on a luxury item or a special experience as a highly anticipated treat.
Splurge on.
To carefully analyze and balance the positive advantages and negative disadvantages before making a final decision.
Weigh the pros and cons.
The inherent value of a next best alternative that you permanently lose when you choose to allocate a resource to something else.
Opportunity cost.
Struggling to possess barely enough money to cover the absolute basic costs of daily survival with zero surplus.
Make ends meet.
Exceptional recall. 10 advanced phrases thoroughly mastered. Now, we have a specific assignment for you, the listener. We want to see your progress. We need you to go down to the comment section right now and answer 4 specific questions.
This is your call to action to practice your written English.
Number 1, based on the deep dives we do here, what specific topic should we research and cover next? We construct this curriculum based entirely on your feedback. Number 2, what is one specific new vocabulary word you genuinely learned today? Number 3, what is one new idiom or phrasal verb you plan to start using?
And question number 4 is a unique challenge. If you stayed focused through this entire intensive hour-long exploration of behavioral economics, if you actively practice speaking out loud, and if you are dedicated to mastering this language, we want you to document that achievement. In the comments, type the exact phrase, utilizing all capital letters. I am consistent.
I am consistent.
Yep.
I love the accountability of that. Prove to yourself that you finished the work. While you are down there engaging in the comments, please remember to click the like button, share this specific conversation with a friend who desperately needs to learn the 7-day wait rule, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a lesson.
Yes, please do.
We have a massive library of deep dives available on the channel right now to provide you with hours of easy, engaging listening practice. Furthermore, be sure to expand the video description box below. We have meticulously linked to several fantastic English learning articles and highly valuable free email resources designed to accelerate your fluency journey.
It has been a genuinely fascinating exploration today. We started by looking at a broken mechanism, the murky, complicated, often highly irrational landscape of human decision-making when confronted with money. Through the lens of the behavioral data, we have attempted to make that invisible psychological landscape a little bit more comprehensible.
We definitely covered a lot of ground.
We did. But before we conclude this session, I want to leave you with one final provocative concept to ponder as you navigate the rest of your week.
Leave us with the final thought. What is the ultimate takeaway?
We have spent an hour extensively detailing rigid frameworks, analytical pauses, and behavioral rules. But ultimately, the core objective of understanding all of this psychology is not to force yourself to perfectly mimic the sterile habits of a financial textbook. The goal is not to entirely eradicate the party planner and live a joyless life, nor is it to let the party planner destroy your future. The authentic goal of financial literacy is to intentionally architect a life where your daily micro decisions reliably support both your long-term structural stability and your profound present-day joy.
It's about balance.
So, the question I want you to seriously evaluate the next time you review your accounts is this. If a completely impartial observer were to analyze your bank statements from the previous 90 days, what specific story would those transactions tell them about your priorities? Are your daily financial choices actually telling the story of the life you genuinely want to be living?
Are your daily choices telling the story of the life you genuinely want to live? That is an incredibly powerful diagnostic question. Keep that in the forefront of your mind the very next time that payday notification buzzes on your phone. Thank you for dedicating your time and focus to joining us on this deep dive today. Keep analyzing your habits, keep practicing your spoken English, and we will see you next time.